Beyond 3D.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to this week's edition of Beyond 3D. Matt and Clint here in Studio 2 at RWP 98.7, 98.3. Glad you could join us this weekend. Hopefully you're all doing quite well out there. We've had interesting weeks, so Clint, how are you?
Excellent, Matthew. And yourself?
Good. Very good.
Can I just say, your meditation session that you ran last week on air before Beyond 3D came on was sensational.
Oh, thanks.
Thoroughly enjoyed it.
Thank you very much, and I'm tired now. I'll tell you why. It's been a week of traveling.
For you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been traveling around a lot.
Hang on.
Both internally and externally.
I was going to say we're not talking just physically, are we?
No. We're talking Merkaba.
Gesundheit.
Yeah, thank you. As in Merkaba, as in light spirit body.
Okay.
And as in I was seeing a very interesting little symbol.
Hang on a second. Before you go any further, pump your brakes, kid. Let's just extrapolate this just a little bit more because you're very fluent in what you're talking about, and I guarantee there'll be people out there tonight scratching their heads thinking, what is Matt on about tonight?
The meditation from last week, what we're starting to do is get people to activate the pineal gland. The pineal gland, what it does, it is also called the blue pearl, and it is also called the blue star or traveling star. Your consciousness can actually get in it and start to travel the universe through all the different light spectrums, and you can basically see what's going on out there. So what we want to do is we want to meditate so we can activate the pineal gland, the blue pearl, that blue star, so we can travel in these so-called inner worlds. And I've been having a lot of fun traveling in inner worlds lately. So the more you meditate, the more control you have over this, and you can really start to move around and see some very interesting things.
Can I ask a question?
You may indeed.
Inner worlds as in different frequencies?
Yep.
Thank you. That's all I wanted to ask, because there's a reason I'm asking that question, because it will be relevant later tonight. Fair
enough. But I've been lately, it was really funny, Clint. I saw this, I'm running around this planet. You guys know I'm not crazy. It happened.
Hang on. You're having... Can you explain it, please? Just you can't sit there and drop, I was running around a planet.
Well, all right, fine. Guys, a lot of guys have had lucid dreams.
Yes.
A lot of guys can astral travel.
Yes.
And you go to different places.
Yes.
Okay, so you go to a planet, you're running around it, you're exploring a city, let's say. Now, you've been there before. You can move around in such a way where it resonates with you and you know where you're going. No, you know where you're going when you come to this city. So yes, you know you're not in your home, but you go to a place, you know you dwell there. Okay. You know the streets, you know what's going on.
This is an experience you've had many, many times.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
So now, Merkaba, light frequencies, things that are going on in the light body. This symbol, as I was moving around, was on a lot of the areas on the floor. And what I had was, like a dowsing rod?
Yes. And
I was carrying this, and I could take that, touch the symbol, and I would be teleported somewhere. And we would run around.
The silence was me contemplating that experience.
And so it's almost as if, let's say we go to Melbourne and you land, sorry guys if you're not from Melbourne, if you don't know, let's say you land on the middle of Collins Street and Exhibition Street in the middle of the CBD, the Central Business District.
People can Google Earth that.
You can Google Earth it, okay, fine. So in the middle of that street, all of a sudden you look down and there's this brilliant geometric green, luminous green symbol. You touch it with a dowsing rod and you're teleported from that point to, let's say, out in front of Crown Casino.
Okay.
And then there's a point there. You teleport you can touch that point and all of a sudden you find yourself out near the Melbourne Zoo.
So it's like bouncing.
Yeah, all over the place. It's almost like Star Trek with a transporter kind of thing, but you can just touch the symbol and it would take you around and you can see different things.
And this is you astral traveling?
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
So I've been doing that a lot this week, so it's been a fun, interesting week.
I saw you tonight before our show, and I could tell straight away you looked very flat.
Yep. What you tend to do when that happens is
I'm full of compliments.
Yeah, that's good. After a while, what you do is you just say, hey, look, tonight as you go to bed, that's it. I don't want to go anywhere. and you just do your best to fall asleep and not have to travel. There is a control mechanism that you can use. I won't get into it now, but if you don't want to, you don't have to.
I heard a very, very interesting interview during the week.
Yeah.
We have never mentioned this gentleman's name before.
Right.
Whitley Strieber.
Oh, know him. Know him, know of him.
I know you don't know of him because you would have told me by now if you did. I had a very interesting interview with Whitley Strieber this week.
Right.
In which he talked about being woken up at 3 a.m. regularly by some kind of interdimensional, interstellar entities wanting him to meditate to astral travel, where he gets immense downloads during the process. Regardless whether he wants to or not, sometimes he goes, I'm not doing it tonight, just like you just said, and something happens that forces him up to meditate.
Oh, meditation's fine. It's just the traveling that gets tiring.
Yes, but sometimes, like you just said, I'm not going to do it tonight, and sometimes you don't get a say in it.
Sometimes, but regularly I have a technique I can use that'll help me control that, and I don't necessarily have to go somewhere. Or what I'll put it this way. If I do go somewhere, I don't let my brain or whatever remember it, so therefore I wake up refreshed.
How do you make a conscious decision to do that?
You have to train yourself.
Okay.
There are teachers all over Australia. There are teachers all over Asia. And what they can do is they can actually teach you to control what goes on as you're traveling. It takes time. It takes effort. I think I've said this before on the show. A lot of times when you go someplace and recognize that it's more than just your normal dream state and you start moving around, a lot of times you go to interpret what you're seeing and that pulls you out of it.
I do remember being very young at one point in the past and having a lucid dream in which I could control because I realized in the dream that I was dreaming. And once I found that I could do that, flying was very, very easy to do and incredibly fun.
Yeah, it is. I agree. So yeah, that's been the week. It's been a week of symbols and traveling and trying to figure out what the symbols mean and what they are.
So back to this conversation in regards to you astral traveling and touching this symbol and bouncing from one location to the next instantaneously. What else? With this, what other kind of experiences happened to you in regards to this information?
No, it's just a matter of what I tend to do is I tend to write down everything that I experienced in a journal, and then what I can do is see what comes next. What I've been learning lately, and by lately I probably mean in the last 6 months, is this symbol allowed me to get around a certain frequency.
Okay.
That's what was used.
Yep.
In another area, another level, it's a totally different thing that you have to go through.
Okay.
So at least what I'm learning is the fact that how to deal with different... It's almost like a cultural thing. When you go to a different country, you have to learn what the culture is.
You live very quickly.
Yeah, but so when you go to a place like this, you have to learn how to travel, how to see what's going on and things like that. So I'm learning that, but what I'm able to do is bring some information back and start to look things up to see what's going on as far as symbols are concerned. And the thing that sticks out in your head, or at least in my head when I do this, is the color. More than anything, of that green color of the symbol. Yep. So that, to me, I think was very pertinent, very important. And it's the thing about the colors is it's not just your... I wrote down green or a sea green, that sea green color. But it's more of an electric green color. There's a luminosity to it. There's a vibration to it. There's an energy to it.
One of my friends, BT, that's his favorite color. Electric green.
Yeah, well, I took a little thing on the computer here. Guys, you can't see it. Maybe I'll put the picture up. Something along the lines of that.
Hang on a second. Let's put that on the Facebook page right now. Where's my phone? Where's your phone? Hang on. That picture, is that what you saw? Because what you've drawn down on that piece of paper in front of you was almost identical to what you're showing me on the screen here. So you saw that. That's the color. It was that kind of color, except it was more vivid. It was had more energy to it. But is it that symbol?
It looked similar to that. Okay. I cannot say 100% that is the exact symbol I saw. The symbol I saw and where I was, it was more vibrant, it was more vivid, it was more alive.
I just find it amazing that this is on the internet, that somebody else has created this, and you've seen this in an astral travel.
It's geometric figures. It's geometric shapes. It has to do a lot with the work of, what's his name? Lives in Hawaii. Nassim Haramein.
Say his name again.
Nassim Haramein. He's a physicist. And he does a lot of work in what's really going on in the universe and string theory, etc. But there are a lot of geometrical shapes like dodecahedrons and things like that, and the different angles and degrees that are there. And what it's basically doing, it's a representation in a sense of a different physical plane, for lack of a better term. So what I try to do, if I see a symbol, I try to draw it personally, and then I see if I can find something that will at least give me an approximation of what's going on. So it's interesting.
That's pretty much spot on. Like, that's very, very close what you've scribbled down there on that piece of paper compared to what's there on that screen. That's very, very close.
Yeah, so, oh well. And the dowsing rod, reminded me of the letter Y.
Why?
So, the letter Y, yes.
No, but why?
Yeah, I know. And so, therefore, but when it wasn't like you had to take your left hand and your right hand and hold the tops and then you can just put, no, it was the letter Y, but it was also almost like a liquid white gold with symbols on it, and you would basically just come up and touch, and you would take off and go someplace else.
Matthew, that is amazing.
It's fun.
Thank you for sharing that.
No problem. No problem whatsoever.
We have to take a break. And after the back of this, I've got something I just want to explode on.
Cool. Excellent.
Beyond 3D. Welcome back tonight to Beyond 3D.
Yay.
Hey. Last week you and I were tag teaming.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. That's what happens sometimes.
Hey.
Things to do, places to be, people to see. Craziness.
Do you want to speak about craziness?
Yeah, you got more. You got a lot of stuff going on too, I know.
Alex Jones.
Yeah, that's taking it to an extreme.
Yeah, no, look. Alex Jones started me on this journey.
Fair enough.
Okay, and I had a lot of respect for him for quite some time, and then I fell out of favor,
right,
with his philosophies and his beliefs, and a lot of the directions that he was heading in. Well, the direction that he was heading in, I didn't agree with.
Right.
So what do? You just walk away.
Yeah.
Since He Who Shall Not Be Named went into power, Alex Jones has become a very open mouthpiece in support of him.
Yeah.
And that's only from the point of view, it's not because he believes in Donald Trump as being a genuinely good person. From what I've been able to ascertain to this point, Alex Jones leans towards Donald Trump because Hillary is so crooked, and all of the evidence that's come out, everything in the past that we've spoken about that she's been involved in, it's more a case of better the devil you know, or the lesser of two evils, and the fact that Trump's going to shake up things, in which he has done very, very
effectively so far.
The other day, a clip came out in which interviewed Alex Jones. It was a 3-hour interview, and they are friends, but there are points in this clip that I listened to where, if you didn't know the relationship between the two, you'd think that he had no respect for him.
Right.
That had no respect for Alex Jones. We've been doing this show for 3 years.
Yep.
Tonight is episode 71.
Yep.
And all that information that we've spoken about every Saturday night, we cover a gambit of different things, don't we?
Yeah, we do.
Interviewed Alex Jones the other day, and if you were listening to this for the first time, and I'm going to play it right now, and if you never heard Alex Jones speak ever before, you would think this guy has lost the plot.
Right.
But there is a caveat to this. I want to break this clip down with you tonight between now and the end of the show, because I don't want to say that he vomits or he regurgitates a giant pile of facts, but he gives so much information so quickly that he comes off sounding absolutely crazy.
That can happen.
So what I'd like to do is play this now.
Yep.
Let everybody listen to it. Try not to judge.
Gotcha.
And when we come back from the break, after this is played, I want to break this down.
Fair enough.
Have a listen to this. Beyond 3 D.
On air 22 years. I don't get into aliens, metaphysical, religion, any of that. I've studied the elite, and I've also communicated with a lot of the top people. And if you want to know, I will actually break down right now the best knowledge right now what's happening on the planet.
What's happening?
Let me give you a basic gestalt.
Okay. I love when you can use that word with full confidence. I've never said that. Let me give you a basic gestalt. I'd be like, oh my God, I'm such a fraud.
No, you're not.
No, but that's what I think if I use that word.
No, you'll get all this because you'll already have the static as you're a bookworm, a research worm, in a good way. The elite are all about transcendence and living forever and the secrets of the universe, and they want to know all this. Some are good, some are bad, some are a mix. But the good ones don't ever want to organize. The bad ones tend to want to organize because they lust after power. Powerful consciousnesses don't want to dominate other people. They want to empower them, so they don't tend to get together until things are really late in the game. Then they come together. Evil's always defeated because good is so much stronger. And we're on this planet, and Einstein's physics showed it, Max Planck's physics showed it, there's at least 12 dimensions. And now that's why all the top scientists and billionaires are coming out saying it's a false hologram. It is artificial. The computers are scanning it and finding tension points where it's artificially projected and gravity's bleeding in to this universe. That's what they call dark matter. So we're like a thought or a dream that's a wisp in some computer program, some God's mind, whatever. They're proving it all. It's all coming out. Now, there's like this sub-transmission zone below the third dimension that's just turned over to the most horrible things is what it resonates to. And it's trying to get up into the third dimension that's just a basic level consciousness to launch into the next levels. And our species is already way up in the fifth, sixth dimension, consciously, our best people. But there's this big war trying to like basically destroy humanity because humanity has free will and there's a decision to which level we want to go to. We have free will, so evil's allowed to come and contend, not just good. And the elites themselves believe they're racing using human technology to try to take our best minds and build some type of breakaway civilization where they're going to merge with machines, transcend, and break away from the failed species that is man, which is kind of like a false transmission because they're thinking what they are is ugly and bad, projecting it onto themselves instead of believing, no, it's a human test about building us up. And so Google was set up 18, 19 years ago. I knew about this before it was declassified. I'm just saying I have good sources, that they wanted to build a giant artificial system, and Google believes that the first artificial intelligence will be a supercomputer based on the neuron activities of the hive mind of humanity with billions of people wired into it with the Internet of Things. And so all of our thoughts go into it, and we're actually building a computer that has real neurons in real time that's also psychically connected to us, that are organic creatures, so that they will have current prediction powers, future prediction powers, a true crystal ball. But the big secret is, once you have a crystal ball and know the future, you can add stimuli beforehand and make decisions that control the future. And so then it's the end of consciousness and free will for individuals, as we know, and a true 2.0 in a very bad way, hive mind consciousness with an AI jacked into everyone, knowing our hopes and dreams, delivering it to us, not in some PKD wirehead system where we plug in and give up on consciousness because of unlimited pleasure, but because we were already wired in and absorbed before we knew it by giving over our consciousness to this system by our daily decisions that it was able to manipulate and control into a larger system. There's now a human counterstrike taking place to shut this off before it gets fully into place and to block these systems and to try to have an actual debate about where humanity goes and cut off the pedophiles and psychic vampires that are control of this AI system before humanity's destroyed.
Wait a minute, the pedophiles are controlled of AI? How'd the pedophiles get in control of AI?
The pedophiles at a whatever level.
rule.
The devil, whatever you want to call it, this interdimensional thing that gives them advanced off-world technology, the fallen one that's not of this world, is giving them advanced knowledge.
What are you talking about? What systems? What is that? Already been used
Before on other populations.
What? That's Satan? But what are you talking about?
That's Satan.
But explain that. You're saying something insane.
Something that the stupid preacher tells you about, who's totally controlled, or something you read about on in the news or TV.
Right.
But this is an interdimensional force that wants to influence us to build something that absorbs us and kills us, rather than the divine free will we're given to build something much better that empowers the species. So the species is now making a decision.
Where are you getting its entire future? Where are you getting this from?
That's what it is.
But where are you getting it from?
I know from looking at all the data, researching it, studying it, watching the enemy. That's the big decision that humanity has now got before us.
So if you were directing someone to investigate this on their own, how would they do that? So if you said...
Here's the problem. You get someplace finally in deep research where it's what every culture already said, what everybody already knew, what they're telling you in movies like Prometheus, what the elite admit the New York Times they believe in is this, seeded by off-world systems.
Panspermia.
Yes, everything they're doing points towards this, and then you read their own writings, they believe we're this ugly, fallen, ugly species, we're all need to be killed, they're the rich billionaires who are better than us, and they're going to merge with machines and become gods and go to the next level.
But don't you think that most people who extrapolate from where we stand today with our cell phones and our Apple Watches and our integration with the computer and the internet constantly, don't you think that most people see that there's going to be some sort of symbiotic connection? It's a very easy thing.
They were saying it before.
I understand, but a lot of people were saying it
Well,
before.
here's the problem. Who engineered what we were given? What is the point of the back doors, the Trojan horses? Here's what I'm telling you.
Who engineered what?
Here's what I'm telling you. The elite literally believe interdimensionally they were given this information and then built it. And here's the thing, they built it. And Google admits, even in data dumps to Wired 2 years ago, that they're building an AI that will end human consciousness, free will, and take over, and the next species will rise out of that. They've already decided our species.
But people have been talking, Marshall McLuhan was talking about that 50 years ago.
Here's the deal. They built it. Amazon 2 years ago admits they can already, with 99% certainty, pick what their regular users are going to order.
But Alex, before they hold on a second, instead of dragging this out to some nefarious end, isn't it entirely possible that all these futurists, all these technological innovators, they all see the same end game? That there's going to be some sort of a complete integration between people, but it's artificial intelligence.
Historically, everybody saw this coming.
Right.
And so this...
All the futurists, all the people that study the future.
Before silicon chips were created.
Marshall McLuhan, I think it was in the 1970s, said that human beings are the sex organs of the machine world. And he was saying, even back then, that human beings are eventually going to integrate or become something that's a part of what I'm telling you is
there's a centralized system of what they're building that isn't naturally occurring.
Who is that? We're artificially growing.
The elites believe they're getting off-world.
Who's building these things you're just describing right now?
I mean, if you actually read what all the globalists say, you've obviously read their writings, you know that they are getting not off-world, but interdimensional communications to then build this system that we see lowers our IQ, makes us live less.
I've never seen. Okay, but when you're making these big statements, like they're getting interdimensional signals is telling them to create these systems that lower IQs, that's something you got to really prove. Like if there's if there's something you can show us.
All the studies show screen time, all the computers lowering IQs, lowering fertility, lowering our health. Okay,
let me stop you right there. Is that a case? Is that a case of, is somebody holding a gun to your head? Let me tell you about me. I'm addicted to this goddamn thing. I love watching YouTube videos. I love taking pictures. I love looking things up.
With humanity, it has a lot of beautiful things.
It does, but I'll tell you, they're very addictive. They're very addictive. But hold on a second. Let me stop you right there. I don't necessarily think that's engineered to be addictive. I think it's engineered to be really well, and the fact that it works really well is very addictive. Just like little kids look at a screen. You put television in front of them when they're 1 year old and play some stupid commercial, and they're like, whoa. I think. But hold on a second. No, they did not. No, they made better. Hold on a second. They made better and better technology that we're not designed to absorb. Human beings have exactly same DNA. We have the exact same DNA that we did 10,000 years ago. Back when there was nothing like television, there was nothing like movies, there was nothing like stereo headphones and projectors.
Listen,
hold on, please. I let you go on your crazy rant. Hold on, please. You're interrupting my crazy rant. I'm telling you that this is a natural progression of this massive infatuation that we have with technology. They don't have to engineer it. It's natural. It happens to you. It happens to me. It happens to anybody who's looking at cooler and cooler special effects in movies. All that stuff is a natural thing.
Steve Jobs wouldn't let his kids play with an iPad.
Well, he's a let your kids play with
What I'm telling you is,
what's wrong
that
with
was a great rant. I'm not disagreeing with you.
No, you interrupted it 10 times. You gotta let him rant.
Oh, you're letting me rant? Let him rant then.
I'm done now.
Yeah,
Let's
but you're sitting there. Hold on, let me get back to this.
We're not talking about the weather, Eddie. I can tell you that right now.
Let me tell you right now.
done with
Yeah,
that.
let me tell you right now.
Clouds.
Let me tell you. I'm trying to break this down. The whole is being set up to control.
Okay, what I'm telling you is when you're talking about the elites and interdimensional signals that they're receiving that are telling us to lower our IQ, you can't just say that.
I need proof.
Okay, let me give you proof.
That sounds so crazy, by the way.
Let me hear you.
Yeah, all of it sounds so crazy. I wonder where the aliens are.
the proof
Are they
here?
on Earth?
Hey, you know what? It's really cool to say,
I
no,
already
hey,
told you,
maybe
you're
we're in a
the-
computer
you didn't
simulation.
listen to what I
Everybody
said.
talks about that. Everyone says, dude, the
But you're
latest
not,
science
you're
says.
not, you're not.
No, but
They're saying
people
that to
believe
make you
that
think you're not.
easily. Yeah, we're in a computer simulation. But then when you talk about interdimensional, like magical, like, wait a minute.
Exactly. Magic is a technology that hasn't been discovered yet.
Exactly.
Beyond 3D. Welcome back to Beyond 3D, Matthew.
Indeed.
What did you think of that?
Oh, it was a rant, all right.
Oh, it was a rant, all right, but we need to really pull that and break that right down.
Okay. Yeah.
What's the first thing? Because you wrote so many notes in that last 10 minutes.
Yeah. What tends to happen when I hear certain things, I write them down, and then what you start to get is
Hang
the
on,
pushback.
Sorry, I'm sorry. I did not mean that. It just came back on.
Been on air 22 years.
Go. Say it again.
Okay, what tends to happen is someone is starting to make a point, and guest and a host or something like that, and then all of a sudden, let's say a guest comes up with a point like Alex Jones did in that case, and then what happens is there's a pushback. As soon as the host either doesn't understand something, or doesn't believe something, or thinks something is rubbish, all of a sudden there's a pushback, and you start getting this back and forth motion because they don't want to accept. They usually say in the guise of, okay, I need to ask you some questions about that. But I was just trying to listen to the different things that AJ was throwing out.
There's plenty of stuff.
So, I wrote down A, B, C, D, but let's just start with A. The elite and transcendence.
Yes.
So that was mentioned.
So let's go there first.
Well, what he's basically talking about is you can go back to the Rockefellers and the Rothschild families. You can go back to families even beyond that. You can go back to families in the United States that said they can trace their ancestry back to the Mayflower. You can talk about a lot of different families, very rich families in the United States. Again, they live up in Rhode Island along the coast, or on Cape Cod along the coast in Massachusetts. Big houses, old money, very covetous of what they have and their status. The Astors of those kind of people from back at the turn of the 20th century that came going forward. A few of them went down on the Titanic. But insofar as elite families, what they try to do is to recognize the fact that there is a power above them that they cannot refute. So what they want to do is, for lack of a better term, make a deal with them. Mm-hmm. They want to be partners. Mm-hmm. And they want to be their representatives in this plane of existence on this earth. Mm-hmm. So they want... He also talked about in that bit about merging with machines, robotics.
Hang on, are we still? Are you jumping
still
ahead
in.
there?
No.
You're
I'm
still
still
at your first little point
Yeah, I'm
there?
still about to. Yeah,
Okay.
I brought that in for a minute, but now that's I'm still into transcendence here.
Okay.
So you have a group of people that want to transcend. In and of itself, that's great. There's nothing wrong with that. Everybody wants to transcend. That's basically, as human beings, that is what we're supposed to do.
Yes, but can I just pull you up there?
Yeah.
transcending in regards to like your meditation session that you ran last week, that's a spiritual transcendence.
Yes.
They're talking about a physical transcendence and a spiritual one, but not using meditation and feeding the soul.
You're correct. They are talking about more of a physical transcendence because they have, through spiritual work, come across beings that are so ancient, so powerful, that there is no way in the next billion years they could even come up to that level.
My hands up.
Yes.
I'm going to say one word.
Yep.
CERN. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is the thing that they're going through, and this is what they want to do. And it's, once again, I've said this and I put it in my book, it's the Rolex Timex theory. If everyone can afford a Rolex, it becomes a Timex.
Hey,
Who cares?
did you know that diamonds are stored en masse in warehouses overseas? They've got so many diamonds in warehouses that if they were released onto the market, that diamonds would drop in value.
No, sure, of course. There are areas in Namibia where you are not allowed to walk around in desert areas because you basically can just pick them up off the ground. So they basically stop you from going into the area. They put borders up and signs up and fences up and dogs around so you don't deal with it. That's out there. In this first iteration that he was talking about here, he also talked about good versus evil, and ultimately good is stronger than evil. When I heard that, it went back to the churning of the ocean of milk. And that is the story from the ancient texts of India, when you had the Rakshasas, or the demons, and the Gandharvas, the angels, for lack of a better term, were fighting over Amritsa, or nectar, that would transform one into more of a godlike state. And they had a fight over it. And that's what that reminded me of, the fight, the good versus evil, the struggle. In that bit, he talked about 12 dimensions and the false hologram.
And we're on this planet, and Einstein's physics showed it, Max Planck's physics showed it all. There's at least 12 dimensions. And now that's why all the top scientists and billionaires are coming out saying it's a false hologram. It is artificial. The computers are scanning it and finding tension points where it's artificially projected.
Now, science has proven already that there are extra dimensions.
Yeah.
And our dimension, the dimension that we exist on is like one page in a phone book of dimensions. Yeah.
There's, I wrote it down because there's more than 12.
Yes.
There's a heck of a lot more than 12. That's not even a problem.
But you're talking about these guys, Alex Jones and who they have amazing guests on their show. Like, these are two of the biggest names in broadcast.
Worldwide.
In the broadcast industry in America.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And so they're talking about stuff. If you notice, the first thing Alex Jones says, I don't believe in that UFO stuff and all that kind of thing. He doesn't want that in a show. He doesn't like that kind of stuff in a show, but he knows about it.
Oh,
he just doesn't
knows.
want to talk about it.
He knows, because I've listened to other clips this week about him actually talking about that stuff. But let's stay on track here.
Okay. So false holograms, more than 12 dimensions. The false hologram, they talk about the Matrix and the fact that this entire universe, or this world, is a false hologram. Going beyond that, he talked about dark matter.
Hang on. You can't go any further. We have to come back to your false hologram conversation. Now, we have spoken before about David Icke, who has quite openly said in the past that his perspective was that Saturn was broadcasting a frequency to the moon, and that the moon was acting as a conduit to create a false hologram.
He did say that. He most certainly did.
Well, let's have a listen to Emmy Award-winning journalist Linda Moulton Howe give her investigative reporter's stance on what that means.
I'm working on an area that I don't know if you guys have had anybody talk about it, but I am fascinated with, for a background having to do with abductees, contactees, scientists, and so forth. And that is the question that was posed at that big New York sort of bring in a huge audience and put some scientists, physicists, and philosophers on the stage. This happened in April of this year of 2016. And Neil deGrasse Tyson was the moderator. The big, huge American History Auditorium for this event, the tickets sold out like that. And when they got everybody on that stage, and it was televised, and I think they sell the videos, you were hearing some of the best minds on the earth trying to deal with this question. Are we in a simulated universe? And the reason that they came together is because of strange things that have been discovered at the Large Hadron Collider in Geneva. People who have been tracking various aspects of the background, microwave, all sorts of things, of what happens at the quark level in atoms. Believe it or not, that there is, I think your audience would have heard this word, iteration, I-T-E-R, the repeating, let's say in software, in computer software, where there will be iterations in order to accomplish an execution of a command, all being done in zeros and ones. When you find repeating iterations, that is the world of computer software. And there are some scientists saying that repeated iterations at the quark and the atomic level are puzzling to them, suggesting that we are in something like a computer simulation. Well, that alone by itself, the fact that scientists have even thought about this. Now, let's parallel the fact that this is a discussion that sold out in New York with major players. Now, let's parallel it going back to the early 1990s, the book, The Holographic Universe by Michael Talbot. I was at a conference with Bud Hopkins, who at the time in the early 1990s was considered probably the major abductee investigator on the planet. And he and I left this conference in the Midwest, and we're seated next to each other on this airplane. He's going to New York, and I was going, I think, to Denver. And we got to talking about a subject that had been raised, not presented in depth, just raised at the conference where we'd been, about the new book by Michael Talbot, The Holographic Universe. And Bud leaned over to me, his voice dropped. He whispered, "He is one of my abduction cases." And he said, he told me was from telepathic downloads from the extraterrestrials who had been taking him since he was a child. If everybody will read The Holographic Universe, it will give you a little lift up to be able to start listening to these scientists who are seriously discussing, are we in a simulated universe? And from his point of view, he argues that the table, walls, everything, down to the sub particles in the subatomic level up to galaxy. But the truth is, it's all zeros and ones. All zeros and ones. The great quote earlier this year from Elon Musk, I love that guy. He is a true pioneer. He said, I don't know exactly where his math comes, but I'm giving you the quote because I've never forgotten it. It's 1 billion to 1 chance that this universe evolved naturally.
Beyond.
3.
Another piece of that clip there, Matt. And yeah, what do you say to that?
And based upon that, if that is the case, what you would start to find is a lot of the things that are being found on the moon right now by, I think it's John Leonard Walson. If you look at his YouTube page, you're starting to see they have found all kinds of towers.
Pause. that clip that we just played is an edited clip. Okay, there's way more. That whole clip goes for 3 hours.
Right.
In that 3-hour clip, Alex Jones actually talks to Joe Rogan and tells him that there is an obelisk that has been discovered on Mars. And Joe Rogan's like, you've got to be joking. Pulls up the website and all the factual information that is out there on the internet that shows that there actually is obelisks not just on Mars but on the moon as well.
I believe that.
This is factual stuff, but Alex delivers it in a very quick rant that passes it off as being crazy.
It does sound that way, but you have to research.
You have to step away and research and look from a distance at the bigger picture.
All right, so if you have Saturn that's projecting a signal and the signal is being picked up by a tower on our moon, well, one of our moons, and then it's helping to transmit.
I've got another clip here, Matt, from Linda Moulton Howe that backs up exactly that statement.
What I can say with great confidence to any audience today, that there is an alien presence on this planet, that the moon is a machine. It was placed there purposefully, and that their perspective on our planet Earth is that it is a laboratory.
Once again, Matt, that is a relevant piece of audio that backs up what you're just saying now. A frequency.
A frequency or a false hologram, for lack of a better term.
We're presenting this. We're not actually saying that this is what's happening, though.
Yeah.
We're just presenting it.
If.
Yeah, well,
the word if is there.
Well, but that's
what
the
if
thing.
and
But
if,
we've been talking about this stuff for the last 3 years, and I felt that tonight was pertinent to bring this up because this man's rant just covers 3 years of our work in 10 minutes.
Which, well, you can do it. It's obviously he just did it, but the fact of the matter is there's a lot going on behind those words and all those different things that he brought up. So, we can look into false hologram. You take it from there. The next thing I wrote down, dark matter.
And gravity's bleeding in to this universe. That's what they call dark matter.
Which science has already proven exists.
Proved it exists, but what also came up in my head was going back to Duncan Rhodes and the Loosh.
Yes. I was looking at that Loosh story yesterday.
Yeah. And what it actually is doing. And he also talked about the they that created all of this technology.
Hello, Duncan.
Yeah. And when you look at the they that created all of this technology, it is off-world. It's not, at least in this frequency that we know of. It is someone that is, in my opinion, much older, ancient, and has a lot of chutzpah, power. And basically, if they looked at you the wrong way, you'd be turned to ash.
Yes, you've spoken about that before.
Yeah, so he talked about that in that bit as well. The next thing, outside of dark matter, the Loosh, and the fact that Loosh, they can feed off of us because he said that's what they're doing. They're trying to control the way we do things.
Good point there, Matt. Just hit that next clip there from Alex.
So we're like a thought or a dream that's a wisp in some computer program, some God's mind, whatever. They're proving it all. It's all coming out.
Right.
But this is an interdimensional force that wants to influence us to build something that absorbs us and kills us. And it's trying to get up into the third dimension. That's just a basic level consciousness to launch into the next levels.
Let's put it this way. The new guy in the United States, as Whoopi Goldberg says, always talks about one thing and one thing alone when it comes to urban areas. Jobs. Everyone needs jobs. Why do you need a job? Besides to pay for things that, in my opinion, should already be free.
Are you asking me why we need a job? We need a job to obtain money, digital money that doesn't really exist, that we can use for goods and services.
Yeah. We're trading our life force on a daily basis, 8 hours a day, for money. We're exchanging our life force for, we're not getting paid anywhere near what we're worth, but that's what we do. Therefore, they want us, it's got to be about jobs. There are more people working. There's jobs. That's the only, you always hear this, jobs. What are they keeping you from? We do this, but a lot of people out there don't because they're working so hard. They're stopping you from learning information like this. You don't have time to listen to a 3-hour interview one evening between Alex Jones.
Well, the Dalai Lama said it best. He was asked what surprised him most about humanity, and he answered, man, because man sacrifices his health in order to make money. Then he sacrifices money to recuperate his health. And then he is so anxious about the future that he does not enjoy the present, and the result being that he does not live in the present or the future. He lives as if he is never going to die, and then he dies having never really lived. And that's exactly what you just said.
Well, oh well. This is what you have to try to get through. All right, let me keep going here.
Keep plugging.
He talked about the fact of human beings being the fifth or sixth dimension.
Okay, Matt, one sec. We need to play this clip from Alex.
And our species is already way up in the fifth, sixth dimension, consciously our best people.
Off a little bit.
Well,
Fourth
cool.
dimension.
Okay.
Going toward fifth. Not fifth, going towards sixth.
Can I ask a question?
Yep.
Not everybody's.
No, people are along. Everybody's on different paths. Everybody's at different levels.
Would you correct me or agree with me when I make the statement that the majority of the world's population are in the third dimension?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
And there's a minority that have been able to access the fourth dimension.
Yep.
And then there's another minority that are currently operating in the fifth dimension.
Yeah.
Meditation, Matt? Meditation?
Yes.
That's how you get there?
You can get there through meditation, but it's more than just meditation. It cannot be something where you're just going to sit there and wait for something outside of you to change things. You have to have intent.
You have to change your vibrational frequency and look at the world differently and act differently for positive.
But in order to do that, you have to recognize the fact that you have more than just a physical body.
Oh, absolutely. How many times have we spoken about
Yeah,
that?
so that's the other thing. But as far as people are concerned, the way they describe it in certain areas of Asia is you have a connection point, and it's called the Rainbow Bridge.
And we'll get back to that after this break. Beyond.
3, 3, 3. Welcome back to this week's edition of Beyond 3D. Clint, how's it going? Hanging in?
Excellent. Now we're just discussing the Alex Jones rant that he had on the Joe Rogan show.
Yep.
And what a rant that was.
It was amazing because there's so much information. It was almost like do you ever hear those stories about a person that was allegedly abducted by some UFO or something like that, and all of a sudden they're given a core dump,
A download
of information?
Yeah.
It's something along those lines.
He was having a core dump with Joe Rogan,
Exactly.
and he just came off as crazy. And what we're doing tonight is breaking it all down. Now, you were just talking about the Rainbow Bridge.
The Rainbow Bridge. So meditation is to integrate all the chakras in the body, the energy centers in the body. What then happens is you recognize the fact that you have a soul. You recognize the fact that above the soul you have what they call a higher self. You recognize that you have above the higher self a monad, and above the monad a divine spark. The Rainbow Bridge connects your physical chakras and the spiritual chakras to the soul, to the higher self, to the monad, to the divine spark. Rainbow Bridge. When you get to the point where you are fully integrated being, and you can at will travel through any of those bodies, you can do anything that you can do anything you want, really. You can travel the universe at will. You do not need to have a physical form. You can have one if you want to, or you can just disappear into a mist and become energetic. So, dimensionally speaking, what we tend to think of as we are moving from the third or the fourth dimension into the fourth or the fifth dimension, and that means people will be more spiritually aware. What people need to understand is the movement between 3 and 4 is not just the number 1. That's not just one step up. You have to go from 3 to 3.1 to 3.2 to 3.3 to 3.4. It goes up in increments between 3 and 4. Same thing between 4 and 5, etc. So we are working on that. Now, in Asia, there are people who can look at you, look at your aura, and look at your rainbow bridge and the cord that attaches all of these bodies, and they can tell you how thick that cord is spiritually, how much spiritual energy is there, and what degree you are particularly at this time on this plane of existence. They can tell you whether you are a 3.7 or a 3.2 or a 2.6. They can tell you where you are spiritually and where you're going to be going. Very few people are above, shall we say, the fourth or fifth dimensions.
Okay.
Most people are just dealing in this plane of existence and can't even recognize what's going on outside of that.
Back to this.
Back to this. Then he mentioned Google.
Google was set up 18, 19 years ago. I knew about this before it was declassified. I'm just saying I have good sources. That they wanted to build a giant artificial system. And Google believes that the first artificial intelligence will be a supercomputer based on the neuron activities of the hive mind of humanity.
Supercomputers.
Okay, so we've already seen Google glasses.
Yes.
Now, Google is owned by who? Do you know off the top of your head?
A name of a person, Schmidt?
Yes, but do you know who also has got their fingers in Google?
Oh, well, yeah, government and DARPA and all that.
Yeah, government, DARPA, CIA.
Yeah.
Google is the world's best profiling app. They can profile you based on your Google searches. So
True.
Every time you put something into Google, they can read that and say, oh, okay, Matt's into Star Trek. Matt's into meditation. Matt's into X, Y, and Z.
Right.
They don't need to go out and try and work out who you are. You're giving them the information
Yes.
of who you are. Okay, so we've already got that kind of tech.
We do.
Now, supercomputers, Elon Musk came out a couple of months ago and said, and it was his opinion, but he said the probability is so slim, incredibly slim, it was something like 0.1% or something, that we aren't living in a matrix.
What, in your opinion, Clint, what is the Matrix?
A control mechanism,
What is it, though?
an artificial construct.
Okay. If you are the God you seek,
Hang on a second. I said artificial, but what's the perspective on artificial? That's a different question altogether.
by artificial you mean false.
Correct.
So therefore, once you take it away, what are you left with?
Truth.
And the truth is, what do you think?
I can't.
This is the thing.
Yeah, my head caves in. When I go there, my head
Who made
caves
the
in.
artificial construct, in your opinion?
Well, okay. I have so much information that I could cram in here from other people right now. I've got information here from David Wilcock. I've got information here from Linda Moulton Howe. You know what? We've already played this clip about 20 minutes ago once tonight, and I am going to play it again. And just have a listen to what Linda Moulton Howe, investigative journalist, Emmy Award-winning investigative journalist, Linda Moulton Howe, have a listen to what she says again.
I'm working on an area that I don't know if you guys have had anybody talk about it, but I am fascinated with for a background having to do with abductees, contactees, scientists, and so forth. And that is the question that was posed at that big New York sort of bring in a huge audience and put some scientists, physicists, and philosophers on the stage. This happened in April of this year of 2016. And Neil deGrasse Tyson was the moderator. The big, huge American History Auditorium for this event, the tickets sold out like that. And when they got everybody on that stage, and it was televised, and I think they sell the videos, you were hearing some of the best minds on the earth trying to deal with this question. Are we in a simulated universe? And the reason that they came together is because of strange things that have been discovered at the Large Hadron Collider in Geneva. People who have been tracking various aspects of the background, microwave, all sorts of things. What happens at the quark level in atoms? Believe it or not, that there is, I think your audience would have heard this word, iteration, ITER. The repeating let's say in software, in computer software, where there will be iterations in order to accomplish an execution of a command, all being done in zeros and ones. When you find repeating iterations, that is the world of computer software. And there are some scientists saying that repeated iterations at the quark and the atomic level are puzzling to them, suggesting that we are in something like a computer simulation. Well, that alone by itself, the fact that scientists have even thought about this. Now, let's parallel the fact that this is a discussion that sold out in New York with major players. Now, let's parallel it. Going back to the early 1990s, the book, The Holographic Universe by Michael Talbot. I was at a conference with Bud Hopkins, who at the time in the early 1990s was considered probably the major abductee investigator on the planet. And he and I left this conference in the Midwest, and we're seated next to each other on this airplane. He's going to New York, and I was going, I think, to Denver. And we got to talking about a subject that had been raised, not presented in depth, just raised at the conference where we'd been, about the new book by Michael Talbot, The Holographic Universe. And Bud leaned over to me, his voice dropped. He whispered, "He is one of my abduction cases." And he said, he told me was from telepathic downloads from the extraterrestrials who had been taking him since he was a child. If everybody will read The Holographic Universe, it will give you a little lift up to be able to start listening to these scientists who are seriously discussing, are we in a simulated universe? And from his point of view, he argues that the table, walls, everything, down to the sub particles in the subatomic level up to galaxy. But the truth is, it's all zeros and ones. All zeros and ones. The great quote earlier this year from Elon Musk, I love that guy. He is a true pioneer. He said, I don't know exactly where his math comes, but I'm giving you the quote because I've never forgotten it. It's 1 billion to 1 chance that this universe evolved naturally.
So that was Linda Moulton Howe talking about the possibility of us living in a matrix situation. Mm-hmm. And your interpretation as to what reality is different to mine, is different to the guy that's dropping off a pizza for us in the next hour. Mm-hmm. It's very presumptuous.
But that's all it's basically saying is everybody has free will, so we can make it up to be whatever it wants.
Thank you.
Or whatever we want. Okay, therefore,
if you're manifesting your thoughts, if your thoughts become a manifestation of your reality, mm-hmm. then where does that fit into this conversation? If a matrix is a control mechanism of a false reality,
why would be my next question.
That's the bigger question.
Would be the next thing I would think of. And why do they need to control us?
And that's why we have this show. That's why we ask these questions and we throw this information out for everybody to talk about and give your own opinion.
Yeah, I wanted to look at it this way. Let's say, and we'll just use human being examples. Let's say you were born into an absolutely, positively, and unequivocally wealthy beyond the dreams of avarice, as they said in the movies, family.
Baron.
Okay. And let's say you're living your life and you know from your parents you're going to inherit it all. And then all of a sudden you come out one day and somebody else sees that this can happen and they decide to clunk you on the head. You wake up, you can't remember who you are. They know if you can't remember who you are and there are passcodes to be able to get to the trusts that you need, they will be able to take control of them. So they are trying to stop you from recognizing who you actually are, because once you recognize who you actually are, you have the power and the authority to do whatever you will. They are stopping you from getting to that point.
I know what you're saying, because there's many people out there in society who are eat, sleep, work, repeat, who have no idea who they are. They sit in front of the television and they watch those shows that just rot their brain. They go to bed, they get up, they go to work. They have no idea who they are spiritually.
So if all of a sudden you wake up and there are people that can help you wake up and you realize who you are, what happens to your so-called false reality that you don't know who you are? You know who you are now. All of that so-called falseness fades away. They can no longer trick you. It is in the best interest of the people that control that false reality you're in to make sure you never wake up.
You know what that comes back to? He who shall not be named. And the fact that he gives off what he calls a fax, and the majority of the media are calling him on his false facts. He's selling a reality that isn't true.
Yeah, I agree with that. The last thing I wrote for the first bit
There's a first
of the Alex Jones rant
going.
was what he was saying about good versus evil, about transcendence, about dimensions, about dark matter, etc. only works on this light frequency.
Yes.
Therefore,
The mundane.
being that you know that it's only once you break free of that, outside of that, and you can see what else is going on, they can't do anything to you anymore.
That's why I am currently free. And I'm proud to say that I'm currently free. I do not watch television anymore. I do not listen to mainstream radio. I do not read the newspapers. I am free. And because I am free, I have been able to step back and see the bigger picture and see what's actually really going on and watch my friends walk around like zombies, eat, sleep, work, repeat.
Absolutely.
And it's sad.
The reason, well, we do watch some things because we need to do research so we can present this show.
Oh, absolutely.
Outside of that, when we're watching the news, we are under no illusion.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Whatsoever. There is no illusion. We know what we're watching. We know the game that's being played. So that, in my opinion, just the little gist of the first bits he was talking about. Now, when you get a person that starts talking like this on a radio show or in a public forum, there are going to be people who are how should I put this? It's going to shock them, and it's going to
Catapult them into a negative mindset.
But that negative mindset is a defense mechanism.
Absolutely it is, because that's a reality smasher for them.
Exactly.
And it's so left of field, or so right of field, depending on where you sit, that it just comes off as sounding crazy.
Well, here's another reality smasher. Right now it's going on with medicinal cannabis. What you have is a natural plant from Mother Earth that can actually help human beings that have a malady. Allopathic physicians, those normal doctors that deal with all the great pharmaceutical companies out there that are feeding us all kinds of lovely pills, cannot allow that to happen because they would cost them too much money and they would lose part of their control of this so-called false matrix.
Oh, absolutely. Everybody would all of a sudden, that's a big generalization, a lot of people would get very well very quick, which means that big pharma loses money.
They lose a lot of money. And so based upon that fact, what else? Think about it. Think about what he who shall not be named was saying in his speech the other day, talking about repeal and replace the Affordable Care Act. What is it really about? I have never, the one thing I'm waiting to hear any politician speak about, and here in Australia we haven't made when it comes to the difference between the systems in Australia and the United States when it comes to healthcare. But none of them have talked about the fact that the insurance companies are the ones raising these premiums. The insurance companies are the ones closing down those exchanges over there. That is the actual perpetrator of this. That is what's going on, and they're doing it for what reason? To make more money. Just to gouge people.
It's not for us.
No.
We have to take a break, Matt.
You're kidding.
Already. I'm not joking.
Jeez, okay, cool.
We're flying tonight. We are flying. Beyond.
3, 3, 3.
D.
Welcome back tonight to Beyond 3D. Matt, you were just talking about the insurance companies, and we were breaking down the story that Alex Jones presented to on the Experience show the other night.
Yeah, but this is the whole thing. You said it was a 10-minute blurb that we played, but that 10-minute blurb will take you at least an hour to break down under normal circumstances when you start looking at all the different points that were brought up.
We've been talking about this for half an hour already.
Well, this is the whole thing. So, okay, insurance companies and everything like that, there is a lot of money in medicine. A lot of people know this, so I'm just beating a dead horse, but cancer is big business. Heart disease is big business. Fact.
No, it's big business to keep people sick and to let them die.
It's very big business, and they can control everything.
There's no business in keeping people healthy.
No, but there is business in keeping people sick.
That's right.
So therefore, what else happens? This is why insurance actuaries can tell you probably to within a month when people are going to die, and that's why they only pay out 2% of the premiums they take in on a life insurance policy. It's really interesting when you start studying the numbers. Numbers don't lie, at least in this regard. So that was what was going on with the healthcare system. When you break all of this down, it's really interesting. Into the next bracket, he started talking about the fallen one, Satan.
Okay, so I do know that Alex Jones is very religious.
Yep.
I have noticed over the last couple of years that he has started to bend his mindset away from from following a dogmatic Christian religion to now opening his mind and understanding that there are dark forces that exist in parallel worlds on other frequencies. And the fact that on the show that he openly admitted that he was getting information about the fallen ones existing on other frequencies. All you got to do is look at what CERN's doing right now. All you got to do is look at all the different times that we've spoken and we've interviewed people and they've talked about negativity and I can't remember off the top of my head who it was that was talking about the Dracos. Oh, that's what it was. David Icke. David Icke and Kridu Mutwa talk about the Draco Reptilians existing on a negative frequency and feeding off people, getting back to the Loosh story again, feeding off people's negativity. Now, when you look at ancient history, like China, for example,
right?
What is their basis for their mythology? What creature is the basis of Chinese mythology?
What, the dragon?
The dragon. Thank you. You'll find the dragon existing in lots of different mythology, everywhere from China across to England, Europe, Africa, with Kridu Mutwa. But when you're talking about Alex Jones talking about the fallen one, that's him talking about satanic stuff. Just hit that next clip there, Matt.
The devil, whatever you want to call it, this interdimensional thing that gives them advanced off-world technology, the fallen one that's not of this world, is giving them advanced knowledge.
And that was relevant, wasn't it? And him trying to get his head around, not get his head around, but try and present the fact that in history, when you've looked at anything that was satanic, there is no reason why that anything that was to do with Lucifer or dragons or anything like that, there's no reason why it cannot be a dark entity from one of these dimensions.
True. To be perfectly honest with you, because I was about to say something, I'll say it. Anytime people mention Satan or the devil, I do not think of Lucifer per se.
No, I don't either. That's Catholic Christian dogma.
Yeah, exactly. And so you take the religious aspect out of it, it's basically another control mechanism.
Well, all religion is a control mechanism.
So the fallen ones, and this is the thing, and this is why I tell people to go back and read the Indian epics, because once again, it's one lifetime and it's in this light spectrum. When you read the Ramayana and you find out who the nemesis is, who the bad guy is, who the demon is only a demon in this story and in this lifetime. Being that we live more than one, in my opinion. I believe in the reincarnation and I believe in the spiritual evolution. You play many different roles. And that's what it really comes down to. So when you talk about dark energy, I think there is dark energy out there. Negative energy is definitely out there, but it's not in the form of a being that is sitting in the bowels of hell waiting for you to come down because you were a bad boy or girl.
No, but that's Alex's interpretation.
Yeah.
Again, he's coming off the back of Christian dogma.
Yeah.
He's a Christian person That's his belief. He's a Christian at heart.
Yeah.
So, knowing that he's gone on this journey over the last couple of years and the information that's come to him about there being extraterrestrials, about there being interdimensional entities, about there being other frequencies, Alex Jones has gone from the political arena and now he's got 2 feet in the pond of the spiritual world. And him trying to explain that to Joe Rogan without him getting berated of what are you talking about, satanic dark demons and devils, and it just we need to explain where he's coming from in that sense.
Well, the other thing I wrote after that was levels. From what level? From the past. And if you can't understand the past, the present. You just mentioned that a little while ago. People constantly, they're on that vicious cycle where they go to work and they just keep rotating around and they don't really live in the present moment.
That's not life.
That was mentioned as well. It's not right now. It's not even resonating with me because when we start talking about this stuff, after a while, you break it down and it's like, okay, I can see where he's coming from, but that doesn't mean it is the proper way to think about things.
Well, let's say, for example, he's talking about CERN. You know, what's CERN unlocking at the moment? All the data that's coming out of CERN with the alternative news is that they're opening gateways to other realities and other frequencies, and negative energy is bleeding through. Negative entities are coming through.
Okay, Matt, just play that next clip there from Alex.
There's like this sub-transmission zone below the third dimension that's just turned over to the most horrible things is what it resonates to. Who engineered what we were given? The elite literally believe interdimensionally they were given this information and then built it.
And I'm not sitting here making this up. You can find all this information on the web. There's so much data on it.
Yeah. It's a hard one because we're dealing with this so-called reality. And once we get past this reality, at least we'll be able to deal with it a little bit more. So, what do you think about it? I'm not a fan of the Satan thing, even though there are satanic worlds. And by satanic worlds, I mean worlds where energies that are more negative than positive exist.
I'd agree.
That's the best way to look at it. We're living in one of those right now, and that's why in Indian terms they call it the Kali Yuga, or Dharma is represented by a cow with 3 broken legs. But okay, that's negative. But the good thing about being in that time is it is stated that that is probably one of the easiest times to reach the source, to reach what we would call God. Why? Because all you have to do is chant the name.
Can we, when you say God, we mean the universal
supreme being, the universal entity, whatever created this so-called world that we're currently living in and created the universe as all of them.
Yep.
We get the power to be able, we're creators ourselves, we're co-creators, and I love that bit when you look at certain texts, and right now there's a big problem in the world when it comes to Islam and when it comes to Christianity, and you see this in the United States all the time. And I constantly hear people on Facebook and things like that talking about, Islam, it's just a death religion. All they want to do is rape, rob, and pillage, and they treat gays a certain way, and they do this and they do that. And I go, really?
And
everything you can read in the Quran that says that, I can show you a passage in the Bible that says the exact same thing.
Obviously, they don't know the Christian religion or the Christian history.
Yeah, please.
Anyway,
this
Matt,
is the whole thing.
Back to this.
No. I'll get to the next section of what I wrote.
No. We have to have a break again. I know you're on a roll. Back in a sec.
Beyond 3D.
Welcome back tonight to Beyond 3D. Matt's on a roll. I'm not going to stop him anymore. Go for it, Matty.
They. Everyone wants to know, says, who are they?
Knows who they are.
Yeah. Are they off-world, interdimensional? Who are they?
Tick. The global elite, tick. Off-world, tick. Interdimensional, negative, tick.
If you have a group of people on a planet that we call the elite that actually have contact with off-world entities, interdimensional entities, they know that these entities are more powerful than the people here. They make a deal. They make an alliance. They say, well, we want to be your representatives in this sphere of influence. Fact. When you, as a human being, expand your consciousness to the point where you are beyond one dimension or beyond just this so-called galaxy or universe, the Earth, the Moon, the Sun, all of the planets in this solar system, including everything located within the Milky Way galaxy, scientifically speaking, would be the size of an angstrom unit. It's nothing. It's a little dinky thing off in the corner somewhere when you expand your consciousness. They can't do that yet. What they can do is they can say, well, we can be your representative here. We will make sure that the people come along in such a way where it will not interfere with anything else that's going on. We will do it in the proper way. And what happens is, after a period of time, they become covetous, their egos get fed, they become power hungry, and they decide that they don't want to, or they will release the information only to a certain coterie of people at a specific in a specific time frame, so that they can control who gets to leave, who gets to stay, who gets to become liberated, and who has to stay on that wheel of birth and death for a few more times. That's what it comes down to. They just want to control us as souls. They want to control that gateway. They want to control the toll bridge that allows us to move from one dimension to the other. There's a problem with that. And the problem with that is they cannot internally stop you from meditating. They try to do it, but what you tend to do is this. There are so many different meditation techniques out there, Clint. It's amazing. Everybody comes up with one every week. What you have to do is take the time to interpret whether or not they resonate with you. That's what you have to do. So if you can do that, a lot of times you will find you don't have to worry about who they are. You are they. You are that off-worlder. You are interdimensional. And when you know that personally, all the stuff that you see going on here, you laugh at it. It's laughable because what's going to happen? They want to merge with the machine. I always think about this. What do you think about this one, Clint? Are
you going down Borg Street?
No, yeah, in a way, yeah. Robotics.
I could tell.
What possible purpose? Let me ask you this. I'll ask it this way. After 500 years of this crap, would you be tired?
I'm tired already.
That's the whole point.
I've only been here for 45 years and I'm tired already.
So this is the whole point. Why?
I don't want to be here anymore, to be honest with you.
A lot of people don't.
I don't want to be here anymore, but I understand that this car that I'm sitting in, this body, has a little bit further to go. I can't wait.
A few more lessons to learn, but a lot of people, you want to move on. When you start to see just what you really are, you say, all right, now give me more. Where do I have to go? What do I have to create so I can get off this puppy and move on to the next one?
You know what I'm gutted about?
What?
This is pretty deep. I've got friends that I care about.
You want to take them with you?
And I know they are going to be left behind.
No, you want to take them with you?
I want to take them with me, but they're not on the same frequency that I am.
Yeah.
I reckon they've got probably another couple more lifetimes to go before they even catch up.
The other thing that happens is that these guys are devious. You've lived more lifetimes than you can possibly imagine. Don't start thinking, oh, I've lived 10.
I was. Or
I've lived 25.
No.
Bull.
No, it's just...
Add a few zeros.
Yeah, I know that. But unless you're able to step out of the matrix and realize that you're more than just flesh and blood, you are totally oblivious. And you don't even contemplate it in a deep sense. You don't go looking for it. You don't try to contact. You don't try to search for that information in yourself. So what I was saying before you go any further is that I am gutted because I've got friends that I really, really care about that I know that when I leave this lifetime, I probably won't see them again until they catch up.
They might not ever catch up.
They might not catch up, and that's what guts me.
This might be the time where you can get to interact at least on this plane of existence, and then everybody moves on. That's the whole point of it all.
Back to this.
They are us, but they don't want you to know that they are us. They want you to think that you are just a mere flesh and blood human being that has to rely on religion to keep you in check, and that if you're a good little boy and girl or a bad little boy and girl, they will send you to a so-called heaven or hell where you will be purged for eternity?
Dogma.
Crap.
Dogma.
I know that, but it's absolutely ridiculous.
Religious control.
We are so much more than that, and that's what this is about. And what Alex Jones was saying, in my opinion, is just that. We are so much more than that. But the people that are so-called the elitists have set themselves up over the millennium so that they can control what is going on here. Mm-hmm. This is the whole problem, and we get to see it on a grand scale now. So the new guy has done one favor for the world. He has shown everyone what's actually going on. He's wearing it on his sleeve.
Look, I don't like him. I think he's an absolute pig. That's my opinion. Yeah. But the one positive I will take out of it is that he's opened up a lot of eyes.
Yep, absolutely. People are looking at it all now.
Yep, and that's how you got to look at him. That's how you let's make lemonade out of the lemons.
Mm-hmm. That's it. You got to look at him that way, and so for that you can thank him because hey, he's showing everybody what's going on out there. That is the main thing. So, Alex Jones and I love the fact that they fought. Alex Jones, when he gets on a roll, you can tell when he's telling his own truth because he's talking at 100 miles an hour, and it just comes out of there, and then you have to stop him, and he'll go, oh, but that comes from, and he acts like you should know.
Well, most people should know. I mean, it's your life, for God's sakes.
What's going on right now is the fact that we're going to start to see, if you're really careful and you do your research, you're going to start to have a lot of good experiences that are going to allow you to go beyond this. So what you got to do is the quick meditations. We're going to put up on the Facebook page. Actually, what I'll do is I'll put it up on the Facebook page, and we will put it up within the next month. I've got to give myself some time on our website. And you will be able to have, let's say, a PowerPoint presentation of the steps you need to take to do that 5-minute meditation each evening.
I've completed all the podcasts.
Oh, beautiful. So what we're going to do is I'm going to put that up and you can just download that. It's quite simple. It doesn't take a lot of time. It's 5 minutes. But if you do that faithfully every day, what will happen is you will start having those experiences that we talk about. And then what you have to do is you write them down. And then you have to program yourself to remember certain things because certain things will just stand out in those experiences. As I was talking about earlier, the symbol that was used. And what stood out is I could not remember the entire intricate symbol, but I can remember the symbol, I can remember the color, I can remember the energy of it. That's what will start to happen to you. And when that happens, you will hear someone say something that's a politician, or that is a priest, or that is a teacher, and you will know in your gut, because you've integrated that seed that sits at the gut, at the solar plexus level, you will know truth for you or unnecessary for you. That's what it comes down to.
Back to Alex and Joe.
Interesting little interview. It's 3 hours long. We might have to listen to the whole thing. They probably went off, and I know there's a bit of profanity laced throughout. But
I've had my finger on the buzzer tonight, bleeping that stuff out. So.
Yeah. So literally, he's talking about what, as you said earlier, David Icke talks about as well. We are in a matrix. Hang
on. You're not saying that we're in a matrix. You're presenting.
They are saying.
They are saying. Thank you. You're reiterating.
Yeah, I'm reiterating what they were saying. So there's a matrix. There's a control mechanism put in place that is stopping humanity from evolving too quickly and actually trying to stagnate that evolution because they want to have a different entity, for lack of a better term, go forward. In other words, they want to make man extinct, in a sense, and come up with something new that they might have more control over.
I'm going to play a very, very quick clip.
Yep.
Right now, and then after the clip, we'll go into a break.
Okay.
This is Linda Moulton Howe talking about how interdimensional and interstellar entities see the human race.
We have allies. Earth, humans, evolution, we have allies. But there are hostile intelligences out there that would like to see humans evaporated. But we have allies, and the assumption is the allies are as strong or stronger than the hostiles. I would like to know why would anything in the universe
want us to be evaporated?
Want to evaporate humans? Well,
right now,
jump to the Anunnaki. In the Anunnaki story between Enlil and Enki, it was Enlil, the top dog, who after they had genetically manipulated and made these slaves, humans, to dig gold and do all this, it was Enlil who said he wanted these creatures evaporated because they offended him that they had used their extraterrestrial genes to manipulate DNA in already evolving primates. And so he wanted us erased. Wow. It was Enki and Nabu who argued no, and they went to war. The brothers went to war. We're here.
Where it's what every culture already said, what everybody already knew, what they're telling you in movies like Prometheus, what the elite admit the New York Times they believe in is this, seeded by off-world systems.
Panspermia.
Yes, everything they're doing points towards this, and then you read their own writings. They believe we're this ugly, fallen, ugly species. We're all need to be killed, rather than the divine free will we're given to build something much better that empowers the species.
Beyond 3D. Welcome back this week to Beyond 3D. Matt and I are just pulling apart the Alex Jones and Joe Rogan interview that went for 3 hours, and tonight at the top of the show, Matt, we only played the first 10 minutes.
So you have more, in other words?
There's another
too much.
There's a lot.
There's a lot of it. Okay.
We could fill a show for the next year.
Okay.
Just on that interview.
Fair enough. So, honestly, looking at all of this and what was stated, Linda Moulton Howe included, we're looking at levels, past, present, and future. Now, that refers to time. If it refers to time, you have to go beyond time in order to really be able to get the full picture of what's going on. There is, according to some people, there is no past, there is no present, there is no future, there is only the present, there is the now. And everything is happening right now. So when we talk about the founding of Australia in 1901,
now
it's going on right now. That is happening now. When we
that's the multiverse, though.
Yeah. When we talk about SpaceX and the fact that they are going to start sending people on excursions around the moon.
Yeah, that's now.
It's all now. So we tend to put time on it. Because that way our biological clocks can work better and allow the body to function in this space.
And the brain to understand or to interpret time as linear, which it is not.
Yeah, but we've also had situations, I know you have, and I have, and many of our listeners have as well, where you don't remember what day it is anymore. That's a time measure, the days of the week. You're just going around. You can see light and darkness, but you can start, if you're out there long enough and you don't have any technology, you'll know when it's noon, you'll know when it's evening. You can tell by just looking at what's going on.
Do I wear a watch anymore?
No, I don't wear one
I can
either.
tell you what the time is at any point in time.
Yeah. This is the whole thing. We don't need the technologies per se in order to experience what is going on here. You sleep when you're tired. You don't have to sleep just because it's nighttime. What tends to happen is the body is on a cycle, and that has to do with gravity, and therefore the body regenerates itself overnight. That's the main thing. So therefore your systems work better, so you get refreshed. That is the reason this body sleeps, but your consciousness never does. Your consciousness is on 24/7 here, always has been on, will never shut down at all. So levels, they were talking about what level is this control mechanism coming from? Who put that control mechanism in place? Teachers. We have teachers here.
Hello.
You're a teacher. Therefore,
loosely.
No, but that's what it comes down to. Just because you work with, let's say, grade 1 children.
No.
Just because you do that.
High school.
Okay, any example. Just because you work with grade 1 does not mean that is your level.
No.
You are teaching that level.
Correct.
You have a life beyond that level, but for a person that's in that grade, that is their life per se.
I've taught grey ones before. Let me tell you, it's no picnic.
But the fact of the matter is there are teachers that teach meditation. They're beyond it. They call them gurus and different masters.
Well, that's exactly the same as a yoga teacher teaching a beginner's class. The yoga teacher's only going to teach those beginners what they need to know in that beginner's class, but that does not mean that they're not capable of going above and beyond up to an advanced stage.
Absolutely. Absolutely. They might know the entire Hatha Yoga system and be able to do any position that you could possibly imagine, but in order for them to do that, they had to go through a series of events. They had to practice. They had to train their body. They had to train their mind. Once you've done that, more information can be taken in. It's the same thing. That's what schooling really is. That's what a guru does. A guru is a teacher. A guru gets you to the point where you become the teacher. You become liberated. You can get all of that information. Now, the word they comes up a lot. On our show, it comes up a lot. In this interview, it comes up a lot. We want to know who is they. That constantly comes up. The only way I can put it that would make sense is anytime you want to know who they is, look in the mirror.
Yep. There's that silence again where I'm sitting here contemplating every word you're saying.
You have to look in the mirror because there's going to come a point in time when you do your meditations where you are going to, and they talk about this a lot in scriptures and texts, you're going to meet yourself.
Can I just say, many, many times in the past, I've sat in front of a mirror and stared at myself. I don't know how long I can do it these days, but I do remember in the past, I was not able to hold that gaze for very long. It's very, very confronting when you can actually look into your own soul.
And then you're going to get to the point where you're going to look at it and you're going to go, or at least I think you will. Yeah, most people will. You will look at that being in a mirror, and you will say a very simple statement. I am so much more than that.
Absolutely.
Plain and simple. And so it's very hard for some people to describe they. As soon as you say they, it's outside, it's beyond you. As soon as somebody says off-world, we're on this world, so what is off-world? Unless you've been there, you really can't say. As soon as they say interdimensional, they have to quantify it. What are they actually talking about?
They're trying to quantify and qualify it as a human experience, but off-world and interdimensional and interstellar is not a human experience.
No, it is a human experience, but not for most. It's for some.
It's for a very select few.
Those very select few are like that Hatha Yoga teacher that have trained, but the training takes place over lifetimes.
And we need to get onto that next week because we're out of time tonight, Matt.
Oh boy. Jeez.
I know, tonight has just flown.
It's
But next week, I tell you what I want to touch back on.
Yep.
Atlantis.
Okay.
Atlantis and Antarctica. Antarctica has exploded in the alternative news at the moment.
Yeah. Well, you want to know what this world was like 1 million years ago? It's under the ice.
And that's what they've discovered.
Yeah.
And that's all we've got time for this week, Matt.
Take care out there, guys. Oh, you start getting into this, you want to go, you need 2 more hours. But anyway, it's been a pleasure spending time with you this weekend. We will get back together next weekend for another edition of Beyond 3D. So, Clint, you take care of yourself.
Won't miss it.
And we will catch you guys next week.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
And we're on this planet, and Einstein's physics showed it, Max Planck's physics showed it, there's at least 12 dimensions. And now that's why all the top scientists and billionaires are coming out saying it's a false hologram. It is artificial. The computers are scanning it and finding tension points where it's artificially projected and gravity's bleeding in to this universe. That's what they call dark matter. So we're like a thought or a dream that's a wisp in some computer program, some God's mind, whatever. They're proving it all. It's all coming out. There's like this sub-transmission zone below the third dimension that's just turned over to the most horrible things is what it resonates to. And it's trying to get up into the third dimension that's just a basic level consciousness to launch into the next levels. And our species is already way up in the 5th, 6th dimension, consciously our best people. But there's this big war trying to basically destroy humanity because humanity has free will and there's a decision to which level we want to go to. We have free will, so evil's allowed to come and contend, not just good. And the elites themselves believe they're racing using human technology to try to take our best minds and build some type of breakaway civilization where they're going to merge with machines, transcend, and break away from the failed species that is man. Google was set up 18, 19 years ago. I knew about this before it was declassified. I'm just saying I have good sources. That they wanted to build a giant artificial system. And Google believes that the first artificial intelligence will be a supercomputer based on the neuron activities of the hive mind of humanity. And so all of our thoughts go into it, and we're actually building a computer that has real neurons in real time. They will have current prediction powers, future prediction powers, a true crystal ball, delivering it to us not in some PKD wirehead system where we plug in and give up on consciousness because of unlimited pleasure, but because we were already wired in and absorbed before we knew it by giving over our consciousness to this system by our daily decisions that it was able to manipulate and control into a larger system and cut off the pedophiles and psychic vampires that are control of this AI system before humanity's destroyed. There's now a human counterstrike taking place to shut this off before it gets fully into place and to block these systems and to try to have an actual debate about where humanity goes. The devil, whatever you want to call it, this interdimensional thing that gives them advanced off-world technology, the fallen one that's not of this world, is giving them advanced knowledge.
Right.
This is an interdimensional force that wants to influence us to build something that absorbs us and kills us rather than the divine free will we're given to build something much better that empowers the species, where it's what every culture already said, what everybody already knew, what they're telling you in movies like Prometheus, what the elite admit in the New York Times they believe in is this, seeded by off-world systems.
Panspermia.
Yes, everything they're doing points towards this, and then you read their own writings, they believe we're this ugly, fallen, ugly species, we're all need to be killed. Who engineered what we were given? The elite literally believe interdimensionally they were given this information and then built it. Magic is a technology that hasn't been discovered yet.
Just because you haven't experienced it doesn't mean it doesn't exist.